Welcome back to another episode of the Braun Performance and Rehab Podcast, powered by ISOFIT and Firefly Recovery. ISOFIT is my go-to for all things isometric strength training. For more on ISOFIT, be sure to check out isofit.com. Episodes like this are made possible by Firefly, the official recovery provider of the Braun Performance and Rehab Podcast. For more on Firefly, be sure to check out recoveryfirefly.com. This episode is powered by Dr. Ray Gorman, founder of Engage Movement. Learn how to boost your income without relying on sessions. Get a free training on the blended practice model by following at Ray Gorman DPT on Instagram. AK, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today. We're just having a phenomenal conversation, and I've had so many great chats with you thus far. I really love the energy that you bring into the S&C space. Obviously, you're such a wealth of knowledge that way. But for people who don't know you as well as I've gotten to know you recently, would you mind filling them in a bit about who you are, all the amazing things that you've got going on?
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. I loved getting to meet you at CSCCA. Loved getting to chat with you guys and just understanding who you are and what you bring to the space, right? You guys, it's awesome. And I love it. I love getting connected with you. Loved getting connected with you and being able to just have these conversations now. But currently, professionally, we'll say I'm a strength and conditioning coach at LSU. So I'm an assistant, and I work indoor volleyball and women's tennis. Got to be specific on that because we also have beach. I don't do that. But also helped out with baseball for a while, my first year here. I'm going into my third. Previously, made stops at Mizzou, made stops at Arizona, had stops at Michigan, all in the softball, baseball space. For the most part, had some stops in soccer, have touched women's golf, have touched diving, have touched swimming and gymnastics. I'm in all over the place and done a little bit of everything. And you and I have also discussed, I've worked with a few rodeo athletes, a lot of them, in and out of that space. And before that was at the NSCA in Colorado Springs and at the Olympic Training Center. So all kinds of stuff across the board when it comes to Paralympic sports, when it comes to combat sports, wrestling, acro, gymnastics, kinds. And I've been very, very blessed to be in the spaces and the places that I've been, not just because of yay sport experience professionally, but the people, right? Go back to actually who I am and what I do. I love people. I love community. So I am very much that person that I thrive in community. I thrive with making connection. I am an outdoors lady. I like to be outside. I have 3 dogs. I love the opportunity to get outside, to go be in the sunshine. I wake up early because I like it, not because I have to go spend time with my dogs, walk them. I love coffee. That's my side gig, right? Like I just started my own roasting. So, I mean, that's who I am. This happens to be what I do and what I honestly love. And it's another thing that adds community to my life, right? The strength and conditioning community at large, right? Not just in collegiate, right? Touching professional sides, touching high school sides, going kind of everywhere within what sport brings to people, the way that it elevates people's lives, just in general. And I love it. I think I like to be a conduit for other people, whether they want to enter this space, whether they see themselves as athletes, as coaches, as mentors, as ATs, PTs, whatever. I love having the opportunity to connect people with the right people to get them where they need to go, whether that's me or somebody that I know that's also passionate about what we do in this space. So that's
Absolutely. And I love all the work that you do in the space, whether it be on the coffee side, the S&C side, or anything in between. But one of the things you'll learn, I did my homework for this one. I don't always prep for podcasts, but for once I put in a little bit of time. One of the things that I found unique is, like, at least for myself, I grew up in the middle of freaking nowhere, Pennsylvania. Like I graduated in a high school of about 45, 46 kids. The town population might have been 1,000 at best. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe where you grew up in Texas was like small town USA, town of like 500 or 600 people or something pretty small like that, known for some kind of 6-person football team, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, what exactly football with 6 people looks like. And I just want to know a little bit more about how we go from like middle of nowhere to like literally strength coach with LSU, working with some of the best athletes in sports like volleyball and women's tennis that way. And obviously all the amazing stops that you've had along the way, whether that be in relation to horse training and rodeo, whether that be time in Colorado, time in Arizona, brewing your own coffee. Like, how do we get here from small town Texas?
I'm gonna a quick aside to who my family is, right? My parents were never truly together, right? They split when I was young, but that gave me a lot of great perspective and a lot of great community building across state lines, right? I've got family up in the Northeast. My dad is from New York, he's from Long Island, and his mother just so happens to have the gift of gab. Will talk to anyone, will introduce herself, has zero, I mean, with judgment free. This lady, my grandma is somebody that I look up to, and I can confidently say that I idolize. She's my hero. And from a very, very early age, she taught me the value of service without expectation. You know, there are a lot of people that go to church and that talk the talk. On Sunday, she was at the train station making sure the homeless people had what they needed, taking them coffee and crumb cake and talking to them, just talking to them. She couldn't give them anything. Like, we didn't have a ton of money, but she's there serving, truly, not just lip service. Like, she's there doing. So I got to see that, and I got to understand the value of creating connection with people and what that looks like. And that made me who I am in every space, right? To see people, to truly see people. Is it, somebody, a janitor? Is it somebody, your AD? Is it somebody who comes in? Do you introduce yourself? Do you care about their name? Are you selfish? Do you just want to know people that need to know you? What does that look like? So growing up, I didn't have siblings. Like, I was the only, and I was kind of back and forth between my parents. Mom was in Texas, dad was in Colorado and Utah, and kind of all over the place for a while. But it gave an opportunity. Both my parents are engineers, incredibly smart people. So, I mean, they just know a lot of people. It's, community is important to them also. So I would bop around from, Denver to small town Texas, to Denver to small town Texas, back to Utah to small town Texas, back, all over the place. And I learned that no matter where I went, I could make a connection with somebody. It didn't matter, right? Whether it was talking about dogs or horses or my grandparents or my mom or my siblings or, whatever it was, my step sibling, I should say, later on, I learned how to create community and connection, not just, not to make it sound bad, but like surface level bullshit. Surface level conversations, like never have really thrilled me. So as an athlete growing up, I had to make a decision when we made the move to small town Texas, whether I myself was going to make the move and go to a school that had 6-man football and give up my athletic dreams, or whether I was going to live by myself in the house that we had in the city, closer into town, to go to school, where I could go to school and be part of an athletic program that had prowess, that I could still get recruited. So I chose that. And I lived by myself for the latter half of my, teens. So 14 on, I got a hardship license in the state of Texas, was able to drive myself to and from school, to and from training, had privatized training, had people who really cared about me, but was still a multi-sport athlete. So it started there, truly, making connections with people, understanding that I put myself out there all the time, whether it was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, driving myself to school, going and getting extra reps, shooting, whatever season it was, I was probably going up to train early. And that caught people's eyes very quickly. And they understood that I was kind of into it, not because somebody made me be into it, but because I wanted to be. And that opened up for me. It opened up opportunity. I started getting noticed by college coaches. I started having teammates that all of a sudden started getting recruited by big schools. And some of them got recruited to Oklahoma to go play basketball. And I had blown my ACL out playing basketball, but had transferred to this school that was known for it. And they were like, "You're going to come play at Oklahoma." And I was like, "Probably not." Like, let's be honest. Like, I had not likely, right? Started pole vaulting, got recruited to vault. So ended up going to Oklahoma for the pole vault instead. And again, it just all creates connection. My strength coach there, his name's Adam Kuehl. I get to Oklahoma. I've never actually trained. That's what you learn when you get to college. You think you've trained, but you've never actually trained. So I get there, start making my connections at OU, and I start realizing that, I didn't even know what this stuff was. I didn't even know what a clean was. I had no idea. Nobody ever introduced Olympic lifts to me, right? I didn't know anything about it. So Adam Kuehl takes me and is like, "This is going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun." We start building. I start actually learning what it is to strength train. The throws coach gets a look at me one day, and he was like, "Have you ever tried to throw the javelin?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." To be honest with you, got not a clue. So he puts me with his assistant, and he's like, "I want you to try. We'll give you a 2-week period, 2-week trial period," which, learning something from scratch in 2 weeks, yeah, right. Cool. I'll just stay and do what I'm doing. Well, it turns out I was better at throwing the javelin than I was at anything else. So Brian Bluetrick, who is arguably one of the best throws coaches in the country, and somebody I still idolize to this day. He's the head coach, throws coach at Oregon now. Probably shouldn't say head coach because I think his title is still throws coach. But anyway, great man. Literally picked me out and was just like, I'm gonna make you a javelin thrower, and he did. And I had a great run with him. Qualified for nationals, having thrown for a year, and I mean, dude was awesome. Just again, coached me up. And then it just goes from there, right? As an athlete, you start making connections. You start, creating this community and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Whether it was, track and field or other, the gymnasts, we hung out with everybody, right? Like as athletes at Oklahoma, we did a great job of creating connection within our groups. It's crazy because the athletes now, I'm like, hey, do you guys hang out? And they're like, no, like just with our own teammates. What? Like, that's wild. Go make connections. You don't know where these people are going to be later on in life. And like, again, not to use anybody, but that's it's something great and wonderful to be able to create and connect with people and like support them. Shoot, let them know you love them. Like, let them be there and let them be there for you, just the same back and forth. And then that's kind of where it started. Truly, Adam Jewell put it in me to be a strength coach, and he put that thought in my head. And then kept circling back like year after year. The man moved on. Like, he went on to go work for the Army and for Sorinex and he does all kinds of things. Like, he's great. But he left collegiate strength and conditioning. And he is like, dude, I honestly think this is for you. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, that's crazy. I'm gonna go do PT stuff, Did outpatient PT. No offense. Boring. I hated it. I was not into it.
No offense taken.
This is crazy. Like, this is not for me. And I got waitlisted for school, like all this stuff. So I was like, I don't want to waste my time. Like, I need to figure out what I want to do. So I went home. Go do that, right? You don't know what to do, go home and don't pay bills, right? And work like a dog 7 days a week because your parents own a ranch. And that's what I did. So went home and I started working horses. But again, create connection, right? It's connection, it's community, it's my ability to go and just freaking talk to people, man. Like, go let somebody know you care. Remember their names. Names are big to me, right? Like, it's something that I really value, is just the ability to go into anywhere, whether I've been a part of that community in the past or not, and establish a connection. I'm not looking to infiltrate anybody's life, right? Like, it's not what I mean. I'm just going to go in and bust the door down and be like, well, I'm here. You're welcome. Like, I saved you guys from boredom. But it was that ability of me to enter into these spaces and start being known in those communities, right? Start with team ropers, with barrel racers, with calves, people that are roping calves that are really, those are younger kids, right? Going into those spaces and being like, oh, like, this could potentially, hey, do you guys know, you maybe want to warm up a little bit? And they're like, what do you mean?
Like the 2 shots of whiskey before I get on the horse is
that doesn't do it. Yeah, that doesn't do it for me. And I'm like, no, you know how you lope your horse and you're like cutting with your horse a little bit before to warm them up? Yeah, it actually would benefit you the exact same to do that. Crazy thought, I know. So after that space, I actually had a pretty big accident. We break racehorses for a living. And I did that a lot. I had a pretty big accident, was hospitalized for quite a while. Eventually, when I got out of that, was kind of like, ooh, I might want to like start life now. Cause like, I don't think I want to be in the horse space forever. Like, I miss athletics. I miss specifically collegiate athletics. So how do I work my way back into those things, right? After being removed for 2 years, what do you do? So I start, calling people, Adam, these people that I know. And I was like, what should I do? Like, how does one go about doing these things? Because GA positions were going away. And that was a hard thing to reconcile, right? As how do you enter into these spaces? And they were like, hey, why don't you start with the certifying organization? Like, look up NSCA. And I was like, never heard of that before. Like, didn't even know that was a thing. Sure, like, whatever. Start if I look it up, they have an internship, and the deadline to apply is in like 3 days. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna apply for that. I'm gonna try to rock this shit. So sure enough, that all comes around. I get this internship at the NSCA in Colorado Springs, and they're like, can you be here in whatever it was, 2 weeks? Sure, like, whatever. Yeah, like, let me just pack up and go. I don't care. Like, let me make it work, right? All I've been doing is working. I'm good financially. I've got some money to spend. Like, I can do this. So I moved to Colorado Springs and start working for the NSCA. And it just so happens that my mentor, my boss, his name is Scott Caulfield. He's my boss, right? Everybody knows who Scott Caulfield is. That's my guy. Like, that is the man who taught me. He may not have taught me everything I know about strength conditioning, but that man taught me the value of a network. And again, how to connect with people. What are we doing? And it's not manipulating. Like, it's not manipulative, right? It's not manipulation. It's not like, who can I know to benefit me? No, but it matters who knows you, right? And it matters what you bring to the table and how do they know you? Do they know you as a shit? Like, are you a dick? Like, are you actually terrible? Are you a terrible person? And that's how they know you? And they know you because you're rude, and they know you because you're self-centered and you're arrogant and whatever, because that's one way to be known, and it works. People will know you. They will, absolutely. You go hoot and holler on social media. Do you go like, are you obnoxious? Because that is a way. It's a way to get clicks and likes and whatever else. I'm not interested in that space. But can you be known as somebody who creates genuine connection? Can you call somebody at any given time? Hey, I just want to check up on you. Can you shoot that text message out? Hey, whatever. And that's my guy that taught me that. And that man loves his solitude. He does not love to be social all the time. He likes to go off on his own and do his own thing. And we connected and we bonded over that, because there would be days he'd be like, hey, can you cover everything today? I'm going to go. And I'll be like, yeah, heck yeah, I will. One, it's experience for me. Two, I had those days too, where I was like, hey, dude, you good on this today? I got to go. And he'd be like, yeah, get out of here. Like, that's the man that taught me truly what this profession could be. And I think that he is a wonderful example of what it is to develop a network. And I mean, I don't know very many people that don't like, or at least I don't think anybody would have the heart to say it to me if they didn't love the man. He's wonderful. And there's a reason, right? He's been able to really pour into a lot of people's lives in a positive way. And I think he's the one who showed me that's kind of what I want to be in this space. And from then we went into, the Olympic Training Center. I did the exact same thing and got an internship at the Olympic Training Center that, while also working at the NSCA full time, because I got pulled onto their, the manager of their high performance center, or their whatever performance center. I was running hockey teams out of there and was just working like a dog, but I loved my life. And I just absolutely loved the spaces that I was in, the people that I was able to meet, the athletes I was able to come across, and what they taught me. And again, Scott Caulfield sends me a podcast one day to edit, because that was one of my jobs at the NSCA, was to bleep out all the curse words. And I'm thinking back on how many times I've said something that I would have had to bleep out in this one, but sent me a podcast to edit. And it just so happened that one of the people on that podcast was Ashley Jackson, and she was in Michigan at the time. And he said, hey, you need to listen to this podcast. Please edit it for me. And when you're done, call Ashley Jackson. And I was like, who the heck is Ashley Jackson? Like, okay, whatever. Sure enough, I do what I'm told. Edit the podcast. When I'm done, she didn't give her phone number, but she gave her email. So I was like, I'm going to email her. I'm going to schedule a phone call. I did. And that's how I got to Michigan. I went up. I visited at one point, just went up to go visit, talk shop. She had been down in Boulder, and I'd gone up and visited with her. And at that point, I guess it was like, hey, I could probably tolerate working with this person. So they reached out to me a few months later, and they're like, hey, we have a fellowship position. Would you like to interview for it? Yes, I would. That quickly turned over into a full-time, and then COVID hit. So we were just kind of like bouncing for a little bit. But my time at Michigan was phenomenal. I learned a ton, but that was my introduction into the collegiate space as not an athlete, right? Like, as, trying to be established as a coach. And from there, going to Arizona, same thing, right? Adam Kuehl, again, I can come back to Adam. He was an athlete at Arizona, and he threw. And when he found out that one of his old strength coaches was leaving, he called me and he was like, hey, I know the guy that's leaving this position. I'm going to call them. I'm going to tell them you need it. And I was like, what? Like, at that point, Adam and I hadn't spoken in a couple years. Like, we had, like small little back and forths. But again, it's in who you know. What are you like? That man has seen me at my worst. He's seen me battle through some serious crap. And he's like, no, like, I know that you can handle it. I know that, you're going to go in and you're going to thrive in this situation. And it's like, I don't have to know how you program your sets and your reps or anything like that to know that you're going to go and crush this job, and that you're going to represent me well. You're going to represent yourself well. And, moving on, that's not something that I'm nervous about. Sure enough, I get the interviews in Arizona. I go through that. Can you be here in a few weeks? Yeah, sure. Move out to Tucson. So that's just kind of been the story over and over again, is that I've gone somewhere, I've met someone and it's turned into something, or I've gone somewhere, I've met someone and I've been able to, develop relationships that last over time and turn into opportunities. Whether I take those opportunities or not always remains to be seen. But I think that as we look to expand ourselves and we look to grow our network, that it truly does just become about community and involving people and asking questions, right? And being okay with, like, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room when I walk in, but when I am the smartest person in the room, I want to leave that room and go find a room where I can be the dumb one again and learn, right? Because I think that's the only way that we get somewhere and we do something. I don't know. I think that staying curious just in general has led me to where I'm at and kept me, we'll call it successful, right? I've been in positions where I probably would not have been given opportunities had I not remained curious and continued to try and push myself through areas that were kind of uncomfortable at times, to hopefully better myself and better the people around me at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, first off, mad respect to you and the incredible life that you have lived so far, AK. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And there's so much to unpack from that. I mean, first off, just listening to kind of like your childhood upbringing and so on that way, like I hear more and more stories just like that with the athletes that I work with day in and day out. And I think that enhances your ability to relate to the athletes that you work with in nowadays, because it's like, look, like, I know you're going through some tough stuff. I know you're going through hard times. And, for lack of a better way to put it, sometimes, the shit stacks up so high that you can't see on the other side of it. And it's like, unless you've been in that situation yourself, your ability to relate with the athletes that are in that situation right now is a little bit limited. So naturally, if you've been there and you know what that's like, you can help them in ways others can't. Because while the title might be strength and conditioning coach, I feel like a lot of it has to do more with character than what you load on the bar that day. And character is something that's only built over time. It's not something that is magically transformed from some 6-week program. Even if it's the perfect program, it takes a long time to get there. And it takes a lot of, trial and error. It takes a lot of just life experiences and moving all over the place and just throwing stuff at the wall, for lack of a better way to put it, to develop that. And it sounds like you've done that. You've been almost everywhere that I can think of, whether that be Texas, Arizona, or Colorado, or New York, or anywhere in between that way. And you've worked with so many different sports and so many different experiences. And I think all of that comes together to create the incredible person and coach that you are today, that people know you for. And I think the other thing that's really impressive to me is that a lot of times when I talk with coaches and athletes, they feel like their progression forward is just straight linear. It's like, well, so I go to college, I get the degree, I pass the CSCS, and then I do X, I do Y, I do Z, and we're off to the races. And it's like, it doesn't always look like that. And that's totally okay. And I'll go as far to say that you probably learned more from a lesson and value standpoint that you apply to SNC from your time with the NSCA with Scott and from your time in Texas on a ranch than you would have sitting in a classroom learning from a textbook. It's like, get more going out by doing things and living those experiences and just doing work, even though that work might not always be glamorous and stuff like that. Like, if you want to build character, go muck stalls for a day or two. You'll see who you are really freaking fast. Right? Truly. It's like, there's a lost art of that, in my opinion, in this space. Like, now more than ever, that art of being willing to do the dirty work that it takes to get to those higher grounds sometimes has almost faded away, in my opinion. And even to your point on the networking and the communication, I mean, I like to think that's how you and I have stayed in contact since we've met, because it's like, I met a lot of people in a short amount of time. And it's like, it's not just the initial meeting, it's the follow-up and the continued dialogues and conversations that follow from that. And to your point, that's what leads to amazing things happening. And that's certainly how I've gotten to where I'm at in my little mountain that I've just summited in this entire climb of a journey of a career that I'm on that way. It's like, you get there through the people that you connect with. And as you mentioned, it's not connecting with people for selfish intention. It's rising tides raise all ships at the end of the day. It's like, hey, look, if I can help someone else, that's going to in turn help someone else. That's going to help another person. Somehow, in some crazy way, the universe is going to find a way to work that all together and help me at the end of the day. But I'm not concerned about that right now. I'm just concerned about, can I help that one person and knock over that first domino for the rest to fall? And I think the more you kind of buy into that concept or believe in that concept, the more, like, I'll just say fulfilling your life becomes, because it's like, it's a blessing to be able to give and not need anything in return.
Quick break, because if you're a rehab professional sick of burnout, this could be your answer. Engage Movement's blended practice model is a proven system built by Dr. Ray Gorman, a PT who walked away from the 55-hour-a-week grind and built a blended practice model that doubled his income while working less than 25 hours a week, and he didn't have to rely on the traditional way of selling sessions to do so. It's all about blending remote and in-person services, stacking monthly recurring revenue, and building a business that finally supports your life, not the other way around. This model isn't just theory. Real providers, including myself, are creating lives of freedom and flexibility without being tied to their schedule. And as a listener, you get free access to the complete training. DM my name, Dan, to @RayGormanDPT on Instagram and receive your free breakdown on the model.
Correct. And I think that's lost too. That's because it's so, we're so transactional, or we'll say society is so transactional, that I think people have lost that. And it's this entitlement thing of, well, what can you do for me? I mean, I think that a lot of it stems, we'll give it the entitlement thing, right? But it's a lack of, you don't have the ability to be bored or to do things in repetition or to create routine. And like you just said about bucking stalls, you think that was just like a one-time thing? They're like, that horse made a mess in that stall, I have to go clean it up. Thank God I'll never have to do that again. Like, no, you're actually going to have to do it again in about 6 hours before you leave. And like, that repetitive nature of that will happen every day. It will happen every day. You have to feed them every day. You have to clean out water buckets every day. You have to like rake the barn every day, or it gets absolutely insurmountable to where, like you said, the shit stacks up so high you can't see past it. And that's not something that we teach now. It's, well, how can I do more? How can I do more that's going to get me more? How can I? You can't rake shit that's not there. Like, you can't do it. You cannot do more than is like actually available, right? And that, I think that comes to me more about this whole like mental toughness bullshit that everybody thinks it's my job to develop. I think that that's one, I think it's trash. I think it happens as a result of the way that we train and the way that we teach athletes that, you know, I don't care. I know how to fail. I don't know how to quit, right? That's one of my big things with my teams, is that I don't mind. I want you to know how to fail, but I don't ever want you to understand what quitting feels like, or what, like, you should know that that's not an acceptable route. But that mental toughness aspect is just the ability to forgive yourself, get up and try again. Like, absolutely. Or, I mean, in that same vein, the ability to forgive yourself, give yourself a break and come back and try again tomorrow, right? It's not just ingraining horrific things in your life, or, oh, well, I can't get this one thing, so I'm going to stay in this gym until I do it. No, that's not what that looks like either, right? I think it's funny because there's a therapist, and I think she's actually on like a romantic therapist side, but it's Esther Perel, and she says, I never do the same thing all the time. Like, yeah. And to me, that's so simple. It's like, I never do the same thing all the time, or I never do anything all the time. And that's crazy to me, because it does. Life takes so many different approaches, but there are things that you have to accomplish, that you have to get done. But who's to say you can't do it in a different way? Just because going back to the horses, just because you have to rake the stalls doesn't mean you have to do it the same way every day. Who's to say you don't come back twice a day and do it, at lunchtime too, so that your dinner time's not as bad? But what do you do? Whatever. There are different ways to go about accomplishing the work that needs to be done. But I think that again, it's the whole, like, what's this going to do for me? Or what are you going to do for me? Or how are we going to, whatever, instead of just putting, like, I'm that weird person. I just legitimately love the work. Like, I love going and doing physical labor. I succeed in the barn. Like, that's what I do when I go home. I'll go home and do it for fun. And I'll be like, I'm going to go up to the bar and like go help my friend that manages our whole place. I'm like, I'm going to go help Shady this morning. Like, I'm going to go up and just go feed and like maybe clean some stalls. My mom's like, you're going to go clean stalls? Yeah. Like, load my dogs up, take them out, like bust out my dogs. They go run on like 300 acres. I go clean stalls for a couple hours and go home. Like, that is so fulfilling to me just because it's like, hey, it's done. Like I did something today. It's like the whole making your bed thing. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I make my bed every morning because I wake up at 3:30. There's some days it just doesn't happen. But there is that sense of accomplishment that comes with any task, right? It's anything. To like for me, I still write down all my workouts. I'm 32 years old and it's sitting right in front of me right now. Like I write down, I log everything. And if I do it, I write down what I do and I write down how I do it. And that's a beautiful thing to me because it's my way of not only holding myself accountable, but it's a history, right? I can go back and go see what's up. And I think that's a lost art. And it's something that boredom, you might go back and see that I've done the same thing for 6 weeks every Monday. And you're like, what? Like, what's going on with that? I'm not afraid to be bored. I hate to run and I run almost every day now. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it more than anything. It's so boring to me. It's so incredibly boring. And I do it. And what's worse, I'll do it on a treadmill and I'll do it like staring at a wall and just be like, this is just where we live now. Like, this is it. But what do you do? What am I doing? I'm trying to expand my capacity for bullshit. Honestly, I want to have ridiculous capacities, not just physical. I do want to have ridiculous physical capacities, but I want to have ridiculous mental resiliency. I want to have ridiculous capacities for everybody else's crap that inevitably will get pushed this way. Like you said earlier, it's not just strength coach anymore. You end up being a lot of things. You end up wearing a lot of hats. But if you can't take care of yourself and make sure that you can handle a lot, and your ability to handle stress is not great, your bandwidth is not very wide, right? You only get so much and then you teeter on the edge and you have to throw up a wall and run away and be secluded and whatever for a long time. I don't think it's very helpful. And I don't think that's who I'm called to be. And I don't think everybody's called to do what I do or act the way I act or whatever. I'm not saying that ever. I would never knock somebody for that. But me, myself, and I want to have ridiculous amounts of capacities and know that like I can compartmentalize really well too, right? Just because somebody that I love is going through it, that's not going to wreck my life and ruin my day. It doesn't alter my empathy, right? It doesn't make me showing up for them any different. But we have to learn how to create that balance. And with athletes here, what we see is a struggle with that. One of them goes down, one of them rolls an ankle, one of them has a breakup, one of them has something go wrong. And it's like, oh, we're all struggling now. I'm like, no, no, that's not the way that works, right? Go back into yourself, figure it out, internalize. Nobody's going to love you like you love you. Get in your head, do what you need to do, and execute, right? Go play the game. It is literally a game. That's also the best part. It's not even life and death. It's a game. It's the best part of your job.
You're dropping some absolute gold right now, AK. And I mean, to your point on mental resiliency is not burpees and cold showers.
No,
If that's what you think it is, then you're a little bit misguided to the point that you hold. It's like, at the end of the day, you almost have to develop this like callus on your hand and callus on your mind, if you will. Mm-hmm. And those calluses are not just earned by doing burpees and cold showers and putting yourself through suffering just to say that you put yourself through suffering. There's no claim to fame, in my opinion, in saying, well, I suffered because I chose to. It's not anything that we want to do. It just sort of happens in life. It's just a side effect of the things that actually push us to grow, right? If you do robust physical training and physical prep, I'm not even going to call it GPP because we had that conversation here. But just robust physical preparation for whatever you're competing for, like it shouldn't be the most fun and enjoying thing. As you mentioned, you do stuff that's boring sometimes. I'm with you. I hate running. I think it's the most boring thing ever. And I don't want anything to do with it because of that. But you know what? It's good for me. You know what? If I'm a competitive athlete who's trying to, I don't know, let's say I'm prepping for like lacrosse or something. Well, I better be running in my training for lacrosse because the sport involves running. If I play volleyball where I'm going to have to jump up and down and land in crazy positions 100, 200 times a game, I better be training my body to withstand the forces that are going to like be transferred through it as I jump up and land in crazy positions over and over and over again. And if I don't, I'm probably not going to play too well. If I'm not doing those steps that are required to experience those highs and successes and wins later on, then I can't be upset at the outcome when I didn't even do the work that was required to get there. And to your point, there's a lot of obstacles that come up along the way, whether that's in the form of, relationships failing or not going as planned, or like little things like, oh my goodness, the coffee maker broke this morning. It's the end of the day, it's ruined. Like little things like that throw you off. It's like a lot of times, to your point, people, in my opinion, take them and they just increase them exponentially to the point where something small that robbed them of 10 to 15 seconds of their day now robs them from their whole week. But the worst part is it's not just an anchor that weighs them down. For some reason, that anchor is magnetic and it pulls down all the other boats around them as well. And now everyone is sinking instead of just one person. We can bail water out of one ship pretty easily. It's a lot harder to bail it out of 10 at the same time.
Without a doubt.
The more you emphasize understanding what has happened to you, but how you can reframe your mindset from it, and almost like, I use the term like step back from the situation a little bit, right? There's been certain moments and times when stuff happens, in particular around some of these different complex athlete injuries that get thrown my way. There was one that come in the other day and they were like, yeah, I've had this going on for over a year. I don't remember what it's like to actually do things without knee pain. Like it just doesn't register in my head. And it's like, look, I got to step back for like 10 seconds and just like collect myself and just like re-engage after I've been given this new information that might kind of change my path forward, right? It's like, using a military term here, and Scott might appreciate this because I think he's at the military college now, correct me if I'm wrong, but using that term of like, if you're in a situation, you're engaged in some kind of like conflict or something along those lines, there's probably instances that present themselves that you have to step back and assess your situation because new information was provided for you that you didn't previously have. And until you get that information, one, you don't know what your next step is, or two, that information might change your next step. And if you don't take the time to assess what that is, making that small, tiny step back in order to make giant leaps and bounds forward, because taking that small step back allows you to see that path forward a lot more clearly.
Yeah, without a doubt. And to your point of like doing things we don't want to do, like I was doing a little bit of research the other day just on our brains and like the way that we actually legitimately grow portions of them. When we do things we don't want to do, I think it's the anterior cingulate cortex, if I'm not
sounds
mistaken.
very scientific. That might be above my
Yes.
pay grade.
So, well, it's just really interesting to me because it's involved with like a wide range of like emotional processing, like cognition, motor control, right? Like it's a portion of our brain that's incredibly important, but it actually grows, like it expands when we do things we don't want to do. And that's, to me, it's been seen to be like incredibly tiny in like obese people and like in sedentary populations. And that's a small area of your brain. But then you look at people, freaking what's his name, David Goggins. His is probably like, that's probably what's hanging off the back of his head, right? Like whatever it is, like David Goggins probably has the biggest anterior cingulate cortex ever. But they were talking about people in like blue zones and areas of the world that are seen to be very healthy, that have these very large anterior cingulate cortexes, and how essentially they think that is tied, like that area of the brain is tied with like your basic will to live and like be functional and be, so processing emotions, all of those things. So you actually become better. Like you stay, think about it, staying disciplined, eating correctly, right? Oh, hey, I really want to eat this way, but I'm gonna go with, my better option. I really don't want to run. But I'm going to run anyway, right? Whatever that is. I really don't want to ice baths. I hate ice baths, by the by. You're very rarely going to catch me in one. But you go and you do it, right? And supposedly when we do those things, that grows. Now, I don't know if I'm right on that. Any friggin', neuroscientists out there are going to have to get on me on that to see if I'm, completely on track with that. But I think that that's an area that I want to help make athletes better in. I want them to get better at just life, because you're going to have to do things you don't want to do all the time for the good, right? And it's got to be one of those things that you're willing, your mind is stronger than, your mind, really, right? Like it's both sides are you, but which piece do you want to be successful? Would you rather be sitting? Would you rather be doing less, or would you rather be capable, right? And in my world, I want to be capable and I want to increase my capacities to deal with literally everything, every situation. And all that's led me to in the past couple years, like, thank God I'm not the person I was 2 years ago or even last year for that matter. But what that's led me to over the years, as I have expanded and as I have grown my capacity for just life in general, nothing's that big of a deal anymore. Like, it's hard to shake me. It's hard to rattle me because, like, oh, okay, well, now what? Like, it's one of those things that, like, yes, life happens, but I think about the way that now I want my younger siblings to react. When my baby brother just graduated high school, and I think about him going into college and having all these new experiences, and without a doubt, there's going to be a time in life where he panics because something goes wrong. I hope it's nothing astronomical, but, like, whatever. He's really, really smart, going to a great engineering school, and there's going to be a time something happens, right? Maybe we fail a test, maybe, something, you don't get an A because he's a straight A kid, whatever. Really smart. And I would never want him to be panicky and freak out about stuff that, okay, what now? So that's, again, something that I want to impart to the athletes and the team. And I think that translates really well into sport, or it can translate really well into sport. Okay, volleyball is literally a game of points, back and forth points. No matter what, there will be a point scored every single serve. Every time the ball is in play, there will be a point that ends that play. So inevitably, the other team is going to score. I don't think a volleyball team has ever blanked another volleyball team in the history of ever. Like, if I'm wrong, someone correct me, but, like, the other team is going to score points on you. So what is your response? Do you then go back? Do you then continue on? Do you increase your capacity to deal with difficult things in a game to pull yourself and your teammates back in and continue to execute the game plan?
Absolutely. It's how you respond to those situations like you outlined. It's like, do you just fade away into panic, or do you respond louder than the stressor that presented itself to you, for lack of a better way to put it? And I think there's something really powerful about how we respond to those things that don't go our way. It's like, obviously, in a perfect world, yeah, every volleyball game would end LSU 25-0, whole season done. And then you have an AK podcast about how the heck did that perfect season ensue, right? But until that happens, it's like, it's about the response to that other team scoring the point. Hey, how do we rally back from that? Are we going to crumble emotionally, or are we going to respond louder? And as you mentioned, I talk about this with athletes all the time on the podcast about how sport teaches you lessons of incredible value that are very difficult to learn in other places. And one of the things that I realized as we've been talking is they still exist in small town, middle of nowhere lifestyle. They still exist. Where, we're about 40 years behind the mainstream on things because we haven't caught up to a lot of the mainstream things that impact the majority of the population yet. We're behind the times, as they call it. However, I think in a lot of ways, we're richer than those that have significantly more than we have from a physical standpoint. Because, as you mentioned, we've learned how to be bored. We've learned how to make the best out of not having a lot. It's like you mentioned about, just going to the barn when you're home that way. For me, I go home, I go outside, and I just mess around. Anything I can do outside. It's like, my parents have a sawmill. My dad has a wood shop as well. And it's like, what can I do to just tinker and keep myself busy doing things like that? Because for me, that's far more fulfilling. It's also interesting that you brought up the anterior cingulate cortex. I think I've got that right. Because all of those things obviously are going to play into that. But I was talking earlier today, we actually recorded a podcast, completely separate topic, but afterwards we got on this long discussion around developmental psychology, and she's obviously doing her PhD in developmental psychology. We were talking about this, and essentially it just came back to this point over and over again that in modern times, the athletes that we work with, whether you're an SNC, AT, PT, whatever the heck your title is, the athletes that you're working with are not the athletes anymore, like it or not, that are going to choose to, leave the cookie on the table for 10 hours because they know that they should be eating a salad instead of a cookie or whatever. They're the athletes that are going to say, oh, you only gave me one cookie? Right. Serve more. And I know I'm stereotyping a little bit in that, and obviously that doesn't apply to every athlete, but there is a sense of entitlement that is growing every year. And I see it more and more across generations of athletes. And at some point, some of us have to start to say something about it and say, like, look, where do we draw the line on this? Because we can't just teach kids that they deserve everything that they ever wanted and then some, and it's all just going to be handed to them. Some of this stuff you actually have to work for. Just like how when you go home to the barn, the stalls don't magically clean themselves. The horses don't magically break themselves. The saddles don't find their way onto the horses on their own. It'd be great if they did. You know, you deserve that. Well, not more times than you can count. And you would love if it would just magically do it for you, but that's not going to happen. There's no AI algorithm that's going to make that happen instantly. It takes time. And there's something of incredible value about doing those things that show results in this, in the future, for lack of a better way to put it. Things that you can't get the results immediately for, it's just so far delayed. And it's like, to me, it kind of carries over into the concept of faith, which in my experience tends to be something that goes right along hand in hand in the small town life. It's like, you know, we have this belief in things that we can't necessarily see with our own two eyes. Not to say it doesn't exist elsewhere, but it's like, you know, when you're at a place where you have to drive 3.5 hours just to get to a major airport, like it changes things a little bit. It's like, you know, am I going to make it to the airport on time? Like, what if I had an accident? Like, I can't even see the airport from my house. I can't Uber there. Nothing. Will I get there? You know, maybe I will, maybe not. But we have this belief in things that we can't quite see and quantify. And I think that the more you buy into some of these things that lead to those results in the future that you can't immediately see, the better off you're going to develop that area of your brain that you referenced and some of these other factors that are falling to the wayside. I mean, anything you ever wanted and more can be given to you instantly in the majority of the world, so much so that it's going off the deep end in a lot of ways that I'm going to stop myself and not go down rabbit holes on. But it's going off the deep end and it's getting uncontrolled, in my opinion. And at some point, we have to restrict ourselves from accessing those things and that kind of content, and instead shift our focus to what can I be doing on the day-to-day that bring value to myself and all of those around me? What can I do to kind of prep myself for the future, help other people, and uplift all those around us? And as you mentioned, on the Blue Zone side of things, it seems like this way of thinking also leads to not just a better life, but a longer life as well. So it's like most people I know want to live a long, good life. And if the way to do that is by getting my hands dirty, doing a little bit of dirty work and just putting in my time with stuff that might not be constant fulfillment, and it might be some boring days and boring hours, I'm going to make that transaction any day of the week because I know that's what it takes to get me to that ultimate goal that I'm after.
Absolutely. I agree. I think it's Evie Pomporis was a special agent. She wrote that book, Becoming Bulletproof. Like I've listened to her on, you know, so many podcasts and speaking events and all these things. And her big thing was I have to remind myself all the time that I'm not that special. And that sounds like degrading, right? Like that sounds like self-deprecating, but it's not. It's just the reminder of like, I'm not that special, right? Something's not just happening to me, right? The life is not just happening to me, right? That's not the case. And so I will throw that sometimes at some of my kids, and they're having a day, or they're, you know, well, this and this happened, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you're not that special. Like, that's also happened to somebody else at some time, or something worse has happened to somebody else at some time. And I'm not saying you need to go compare yourself to everybody, right? Somebody else is on chapter 10, you're on chapter 2. You don't need to compare your chapter 2 to their freaking book. Relax. But at the end of the day, when you can do that and really put yourself in that position to go, okay, yeah, and you know what? Yeah, life's not just happening to me, right? I'm not just going to be reactionary in like the way that I'm fending off life, right? I'm going to make sure that I'm responsive. I'm going to make sure that I'm responsible in the way that I do those things, that I don't just snap off. And don't get me wrong, I've been in that situation. I've popped off on some people and before I've been able to stop myself. And if I said something to you when I was mad and I said it with my whole chest, I meant it. I'm not sorry, right? Like, I meant it. But I think that it's the best example and the best thing for us to be able to teach that that returning to a place of gratitude enriches human life, right? It just does. It elevates everybody around us. It puts us in a position to be successful because of what we have, not what we want. And that's where the true work begins, because you can get to where you want to be. I'm not saying give up dreams, right? Don't be super content. But when we can be grateful, I think it changes the way that we think about things, and you become, opportunities arise, and everything, all the walls and everything that you built up, that all the obstacles kind of can fade away, and you can actually focus on the opportunities that are right in front of you because that's what you have and it's available to you. And it's crazy because we have so many talented athletes, and one of my least favorite sayings in the history of ever is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's not true. I think that's the biggest farce ever, because talent will always take the cup. It's true. It will. But how do you instill a culture amongst the team that you can teach them to be process oriented, right? Are you in love with the work? Are you in love with the little tinkering of your technical skills? Are you in love with, getting a higher, potentially a higher vertical jump? Or can you deal with those numbers being degraded while we work on other qualities? And can you own that and be okay with that and continue to work hard and continue to buy in to whatever it is that we're doing? Can you diminish that sense of entitlement of I want it right now, immediately, because I said so, and work for the actual, considerations of your sport and the commitment that it takes to face a challenge and to build that courage and to build the confidence that's kind of centered around what it is that we're doing. And to be able to show up and compete, I think you need all those things. You need courage, you need confidence, you need, commitment to the process, not just the end goal, because that championship will come and then it'll be done. Like it's finished. And people may talk about it for a little bit. Like our baseball team just won another national championship. That's phenomenal. I drove by the facility and there's already like 3 dudes they're hitting. They just got back yesterday. Like, that's crazy, but they're getting ready to go to summer ball, right? Like, they're like, cool, won an Addy, number 8, next. Like, it's something that not many people have anymore in this space with NIL and the whole like, pay me money or I'm going to go somewhere where they'll pay me more money. Whatever. I don't like it, but here we are. To athletes who truly love what they're doing and want to be coached by the best and want to be the best and are willing to put in the time, the effort, the sweat, the tears, the stress, the struggle, and then reap the rewards that, maybe talent alone can't get you, or maybe work alone can't get you, right? You got to marry it in there somewhere. But that was a little aside, but I hate that saying so much. It bothers me. Oh, it bothers me.
You're not wrong at all about it, though. And it's one of those things that, like, we can teach skill. There's skill coaches, right? You go from never throwing a javelin, not even know what a javelin is, to literally being a phenomenal javelin athlete at the B1 level, right? It's amazing how quickly we can teach skill. And as you mentioned, there's opportunity all around us, right? Every athlete that currently works with you has the opportunity to get freaking jacked, rep pull-ups, and like PR their clean before they graduate. The question is, are they going to view that as an opportunity and take that opportunity? Or are they going to miss it because metaphorically it might be dressed in overalls and look like work to them?
Man, it might
But
look like
some people are not willing to get their hands dirty. And it's okay if you're that kind of person, but just be honest with yourself. Be honest with everyone else around you. Like, are you willing to do the work that it takes to get there? Or is that not your thing? I mean, to your point, if I won a natty championship, like I think about some of the athletes that I've worked with that go on these like 2-week benders. And it's like, you know what? If it's like the pinnacle and highlight of my life, like I would probably follow them before I follow the people that get right back to work the very next day. But that's what separates people at the top. That's the character element that you just can't teach or find in a textbook or a weekend course. It separates people. And again, not everyone needs to be like that, to the point that you made. But if you're not one of those people, don't come complaining when you don't get the outcomes that you're after. As you mentioned, the process drives the outcome. And if you don't embrace the process from start to finish, literally from day 0 of we just won a natty yesterday, I need to get back to work, all the way up to when you do get to that next high ground of life, like you're missing the boat, for lack of a better way to put it.
I think it's really cool though, being around people who get it. And I think it's awesome because like rest and recovery, don't get me wrong, incredibly valuable. I'm here for when our stuff ended in the spring, I told our team, I was like, bye for a week, do nothing, see ya. Like, don't even get up, like lay down for a week. Like just lay down. Like take a hot girl walk, right? Like every couple of days. Get up and go touch grass. But
That
the
is one of my
ability,
favorite sayings lately, by the way. Go touch grass.
it's so good to get out there and just go take shoes off the ground, right? Get out there. But I think it's something that we, this whole like just beat the crap out of them, like put them in the ground. It's your job to develop the mental toughness of our athletes. They need to do hard things. The weight room always needs to look hard and they need to grind and they need to. Okay, do you want them to do that? Do you want them to get better? Like, I mean, that's truly the way that I put it sometimes. It's like, okay, like we can do that. I can make them throw up every session. No problem, right? We can have just a puke fest 2025 if you want. That's fine. But that doesn't make anybody better, right? Like hard work just isn't hard work. That's not hard work for the sake of hard work. I want to make sure that we're adapting everything that we need to best serve everybody so that they can put in the work they need to put in to get to where they need to be. And that to me is the hardest thing to buy into for some people. When they're like, well, that wasn't hard enough. I'm like, why? Because you're still upright? Like, because you're standing still? Like, I don't know what to tell you, honey. Like, we go out and do stadiums and, two people puke and then come back and ask for more. And I'm like, what's your problem? What's
Like, who
wrong
hurt
with you? Yeah, like what's wrong with you? Who told you that that's like an efficient way to be? No, please go drink some water and like sit for a minute before we have this lift that's coming after. So I mean, I think it's just a reframing of what it means to be great, and I think to be great is to be coachable, right? And to be able to buy into a program with somebody who's willing to put themselves out there for you every day and learn, and I mean, truly admit when they're wrong. Like I've had to change things in my program mid-phase and be like, hey guys, I think I was pretty off the mark on this one. I'm changing this. And I got kids that are like, yeah, cool, thanks. Way to own it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna change this now. All right, great. Like if you can take that, own it, adapt your program accordingly, and then I don't have to tell them to work hard ever. There's days I gotta like pull back on the reins and be like, hey, stop. Like you doing too much, right? It's too violent. It's too good. It's too powerful. Like relax a little bit. Like you got like 8 more sets, right? Chill out. So I would rather it be that way than me having to beg somebody to pick their feet up and move. So it's really funny, and especially with volleyball, there's something special. There's something really interesting about that group to me that just every time we train, it's kind of eye-opening to me that how physical they are, how truly robust some of them are turning out to be as just athletes, just all around athletes, not even just volleyball players.
I realize we could probably just continue this conversation all day long. This is really refreshing. This is just amazing. This is exactly what I needed today. This is amazing. But for people who want to find out more about you and obviously keep up to date with all the amazing work you're doing that way, where can they find you online and that sort of thing? That way, you might be like me, like I still have my 3rd grade MySpace account out there. So like, I always tell people to find me on MySpace, but outside of MySpace, where can they find you all at?
God, if you could find me on MySpace, that'd be crazy. I don't even remember what my friends list was. You remember that? You got to like rank your friends. What kind of petty toxic bullshit was that?
And
What are we doing?
The music on your like page, like
Yeah.
how much we judge people based on what their like theme song was or whatever.
Wow, what were we doing? That's crazy. We were literally coding that ourselves. Do you remember that? Like we were coding our MySpace. Anyway, that's crazy. Truly, I'm on Instagram, right? Ashley Kowalewski. That's my handle. My name is my handle, but I don't post an astronomical amount. I'm best reached out to. You DM, I'll answer it at some point, right? Like I'm trying to be better about being transparent with what we're doing in here. But I'm that coach where like when I'm coaching, and I don't have my phone and I'm not actively trying to do those things. So I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying to get my interns to remind me to like, hey, like let's do this, right? Let's show what we're doing in here because I think it's cool and I like sharing what I do because I like getting feedback from other people, whether they think it's the dumbest thing they've ever seen, which cool, like fine, I like it, fine, like whatever, it's working for me. or whether I can help somebody out in the meantime. So Instagram's the best bet. It's the only social media I really have. But other than that, shoot me an email, right? ashk@lsu.edu. I'm pretty easy. I'm generally good at responding in 5 to 6 business months. Like it'll, it'll happen. It'll happen. I'll respond. But Instagram is easy and generally something that is accessible every day. So
For sure. We love that. We love that. We'll link to that in the description below too. That way, if you didn't quite catch it, you can just click there and find AK on email, on Instagram, and who knows, if I can get MySpace servers to connect here,
dude,
maybe we'll link the MySpace account in there too.
my 13-year-old photo. Can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
AK, this was incredible. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely, Dan. I loved it. Thank you for having me.